Okay, can you see us?
We can see, yeah, we can see your names.
Oh, but you can't see anything else? Okay, this is so weird.
You don't have the camera on.
No, the camera's on. Okay, hold on a second. Don't go away. Hold on. The camera, okay, the microphone is on.
It might be the way the webinar is set up. Sometimes with the Zoom, we have to be careful. Not that, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be Zoom bombing this meeting, but some of the ways the webinars get set up for the town, we had some problems at the very beginning of the pandemic where people would show things that were offensive.
Okay,
you know.
but we can't see if any other neighbors are on the way you have it set up.
Yeah, we only see you five.
Yes, we only see you five because
else.
you have set it up in a webinar format.
I can read, I will read the participant list and then maybe is that acceptable to do that?
I guess,
I think it's
since we
logical.
can't see anyone.
Okay, so not everybody has I think you're the only ones, Dennis and family, without a last name. So in addition to you, we have Catherine Hirsch, Sherry Rosen, hi Sherry, V.B. Snowdon, Eric Jarlson, Gerald Kaplan, Marion Crandall, Susan Danoff, hi Susan, and Zach Pooji Sanford. Those are the names I see.
I mean, they're all neighbors, so that's,
But my sense is we should get started and then we can circle back if people have questions at the end. So there are a bunch of people with their hands up now, but I think maybe we should start the presentation and then, if we don't answer your questions during the presentation, then we'll swing back around. Does that make sense?
There you go.
And then Dennis, if you can mute yourself again, that would be appreciated. Thank you. All right. Mayor, would you like to start off the meeting for us?
Well, sure. So I want to welcome everybody and apologies for the technical difficulties in getting started. This project, as many of you know, is for a water main replacement on Clover, and we had delayed this project. Originally, the water company was interested in doing this right towards the start of the shutdown, or right as the shutdown ended. So we were able to postpone the work until now. This is a New Jersey American Water project, so we really are going to have them be taking the lead on this meeting, but the town wanted to facilitate making sure that the residents, that everybody in the neighborhood knows what to expect, to get your questions answered. This is one of those infrastructure projects that is not particularly fun while it's happening, but it's really important. We've been seeing over the past few winters water main breaks, and it's much better to do it in a controlled way and make sure that the water infrastructure is in good shape instead of having it break unexpectedly. So I want to hand it back over to Deanna Stockton, who's the municipal engineer, and can introduce everybody else on the call tonight.
Sure. Good evening. Thanks for joining us for the meeting tonight. So from Princeton, you have Ian Baker, our construction engineer, and myself on the call. With New Jersey American, we have Louis de Alameda, who is the inspector on the project from New Jersey American. Len Nitty and Rich Conklin are also with New Jersey American. And then from the contractor Waters and Bugsby, we have Dennis. On that one, Dennis?
Dennis Brophy.
Thank you. And is Joe Malloy on the call as well?
Yes, Joe Malloy's here.
Okay. So those are our representatives from Waters and Bugby. Okay, so I'll just give a quick overview of the project.
Deanna, just sorry, one more introduction is Eve Niedergang, who's a member of the Princeton Council, who's also on the call.
Yes, thank you. And we also have Claudia Ceballos from engineering. One of our assistants as well is helping us out tonight. So the project that New Jersey American is going to be undertaking is a water main replacement project on Clover Lane, extending from Overbrook Drive to Deer Path. And it will include an addition of a new hydrant, as well as replacement of existing hydrants and replacement of 50 service lines. So the water services that provide water to your house will be replaced with 1-inch service lines and new water pits. The relocation work of taking your meter out of your house and putting it out at the street in the meter pit is under a different process. Please, New Jersey American, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
So it's just the piping work and getting the infrastructure in place to receive that meter once that work is scheduled separately. So with that, Len and Lewis, I'm going to turn it over to you to really go through an overview of the process and what people can expect.
Okay, thanks, Deanna. Thank you very much for putting this together, and Mayor Lampart for putting up with us sometimes. We try to hopefully make it as easy as we can. I'll just give you many of you will probably ask is, why does New Jersey American got to come in and rip up our streets and replace our water mains? As Deanna mentioned, infrastructure is getting old. This particular water main infrastructure was installed during the early 1950s when the houses were first constructed on Clover Lane, backed by the Princeton Water Company, prior to Elizabethtown, and now it's New Jersey American Water. Over the past 10 years, the water main has failed about 8 times. When we say the water main fails, it's when we get a water main break. Usually it's on the coldest winter day and in the middle of the night. That's when you see our trucks and our crew people have to come out and dig up the street because there's water bubbling up out of the ground. It ends up making a muddy mess. It ends up having our customers with discolored water for a while because everything was stirred up. And it's just not a great thing to have to deal with when it's, 5 degrees out, or on a holiday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. That's the last thing we want to do, is come out and shut the water off when our customers have houses full of people. And this is what we try to avoid. Every year we take a look at our infrastructure and we have a list that shows all the water main breaks, and Clover came up towards the top of the list. We put this project together last year in the hopes of doing it this spring. Unfortunately, the COVID situation hit us right when we wanted to start. And, bearing in mind with everything that was going on, requests from the residents, requests from the municipality, we postponed it to this October. We really want to get it done this year because if we lose the funding, I don't know when I can do it again. The money gets taken away from me now, and it may go to some other operating area of New Jersey American Water, and I can't guarantee when that funding will be. Going through, Deanna put a really good list together of every incidental area of the job. The first thing you'll see happening is once we plan to get started and we decide on a date, you'll see all the utility markouts come. That'll be gas, of course, water, electric, telephone, and they're usually the paint markings in the street, and you'll see some flags, probably posted on your property where the separate utility lines go into the houses. And I know people don't like to see flags on their property, but please don't pull them out because that's the only way that we could tell where the small individual lines go into the residences. That'll be the first thing you'll see. Even before that, I'll back up a bit. You'll see my inspector, Lewis, who'll be out doing some layout work with the contractor, deciding where we're going to put the new infrastructure and where we're going to put new valving and service lines, et cetera. Okay. The next thing you'll see will be some material deliveries. We'll be getting pipe delivered to the roadway area. We're going to stagger those deliveries so there's not much material stockpiled on any particular roadway at any particular time. Okay. It'll be pipe. Pipe is roughly 20 feet long, 8 inches in diameter, and it's made out of black iron. It's called ductile iron pipe. The pipe that's in the ground right now from the 1950s was called 6-inch cast iron pipe. Cast iron pipe is very brittle, especially as it ages over time due to fluctuations in temperature and ground movement. Temperature extremes play havoc with it, and that's why we get the water main breaks. The new 8-inch ductile iron pipe is much, much stronger. There's an internal lining inside that pipe that resists corrosion also. The older cast iron pipe is unlined and it's subject to corrosion on the inside, which cuts down water flow, and it leads to dirty water sometimes when there's high flow levels inside the pipe. Getting back to the schedule real briefly, we'll see Walters and Bugsby bring in their excavation equipment. These are backhoes, excavators, front end loaders to move materials around. They'll dig a trench in the roadway, roughly 3 feet wide and 48 inches deep. This is where these sections, these 20-foot sections of water main get installed into this excavated ditch in the roadway. At the end of every day, the excavated area of the roadway will be backfilled with stone, tamped, but I mean by tamped, it's compacted so it doesn't settle, and the street will be temporarily patched with asphalt paving materials. This runs down the road in roughly 200-foot segments every day. So Monday we're 200 feet, Tuesday we're 200 feet further down, and so on and so forth every week till we complete the water main installation of 3,360 feet. The next thing we do is the bacterial testing and analysis. All the water that's into that flows into that pipe has to be tested by our laboratories up in Bridgewater. They test for bacteria, they test for all the harmful elements that could be in the water. And the water main isn't placed in service until it passes all these significant tests that have to be done. Once the whole sections of water main are fully tested and in service, then we move on to the individual house service laterals. These are the small lines that feed water into your house. With this project, those small lines are being upgraded from 3/4 inch to 1 inch, depending on what you have right now. If you have anything larger than 3/4 inch, we size it accordingly. But most in that area are 3/4 from our records from the Princeton Water Company show us.
Len,
I'm sorry?
Len, I wanted to jump in real quick and just for the residents to see. I took an aerial map of Clover Lane. We've got Overbrook at the top of the screen, and where you have the distance between the big dots is about 200 feet. So we understand that your contractor will be able to put in about 200 feet of pipe a day. And so this is just a physical representation of how much area could be impacted each day.
That's correct.
For the first day of work, for example, this section would be the work area. Then the second day, the work area is in here. And so it keeps moving down the street in 200-foot sections. So I just wanted people to be able to visualize that. So in general, it looks like potentially 2 homes on each side of the road would be impacted per day by the work area. And this is just a rough approximation, obviously using an aerial photo, but I thought it might be helpful for people to understand kind of the
Sequence as we're
the
moving
sequence,
down.
yeah, and the amount of space that is actually impacted.
And during those sequences of construction, we'll have the police out there directing traffic, enabling everybody to get in and out accordingly. When we're working in that 200-foot segment, the road is going to be closed within that 200 feet because we're going to have an open excavation. But, if you have to get into your house, we'll do everything we have to do to get you to your house. We'll have the contractor with steel plates. These are thick steel plates that you can drive a vehicle across in case you have to get into your driveway while we're working in that area. Anything of that nature to get you in and out. Okay. Then we go back up to the, where I left off at the service laterals. Once those service laterals are installed, as Deanna mentioned, we'll be installing meter pits at the curb line or at the edge of pavement area. The reason for that is we're going to move the meters from inside the residence to this pit or chamber at the curb line. Why are we doing that? So we never have to enter your home again to change that meter or to do any kind of maintenance work or read that meter. It makes it a lot easier for us. BPU law stipulates that meter has to be changed every 10 years. And if you've been in your house a good period of time, you know that we have to come inside to change that meter. This eliminates any of that going forward. Okay. Any questions so far? I know I'm going pretty quickly, but, and it's a lot to take in if you're not well-versed in construction or water main work. So I'm trying to keep it simple and in layman's terms so the residents and the people can understand.
There were a few questions that came in on the chat.
Okay. We can wait to the end, or we could just run through the scenario and come back to the questions.
Well, I think, so I think we should maybe just deal with them now because I think some of them are just relate to what you just said. So I'll go backwards. So will the service lateral replacements cause substantial yard damage or disruption?
The service lateral replacement, we have to hook into your, what we call the consumer's line, which is the line that runs from the edge of the pavement curb area to your house. Usually it's only about 4 or 5 feet behind the curb or the edge of pavement, wherever that existing shutoff is. The existing shutoff is what we call a curb stop. That's what differentiates between the water company owned pipe and the residence owned pipe. So we have to get to that existing shutoff. Princeton Water Company usually put those 3 to 4 feet, 5 feet behind curb, somewhere in that area. I don't know where each one is because we didn't locate them yet. But yes, we have to excavate the lawn area and put the meter chamber and make that connection. There's no way around that.
But then, Len, so the area of disturbance is really just going to be within that first 4 to 5 feet of the lawn area, right?
Correct.
Okay. When you say curb line, are you suggesting that curbing is being proposed where we do not have curbing right now?
No, we will not be installing any curbing.
And the town is not either.
So the curb line is really just where
the curb line is like the edge of pavement line where the grass, where the pavement ends and the grass starts.
Okay. Will you let us know in advance when you will be working in front of our house?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. Like about parking and where to do your car. Right here, I'm gonna make sure I get all these. I think we all understand the water main needs to be replaced, but why now? We are in the middle of a public health crisis. Why would we lose funding?
Every year the funding changes, and if I can't construct this now, I can't guarantee there'll be funding next year for the job. The money goes where the money has to go. But that's a little bit above my level in my organization, but that's the way they tell me what I have to do. I report to people just like everybody else. We know it's not the greatest time of year to do this. However, we did $10 million worth of work this year, all around Somerset County, Hunterdon County. lots of residential work, very densely populated streets up in Bridgewater Township, Somerville Borough, Raritan Township, and same type of projects. And we had no issues at all with the COVID-19 situation.
Okay. As I'm sure you know, the two blocks of Clover are very different from each other in size lot, size of homes, ages of homes. Perhaps a description of the plan needs to include a clarification of which block you were talking about.
As far as with the work zones, or?
Yeah, maybe, or I don't know, maybe we should be having people ask their own question, but.
So I'll just jump in. New Jersey Americans project will start at Overbrook and run towards Deer Path. And so if you're looking at the screen and at the map that I show, I do have Overbrook at the top. And this is where I was mentioning that the distance between dots is 200 feet. So this is the first block from Overbrook to Abernathy. I'm just moving my screen. So Abernathy is here. And again, you'll see the large dots, which are the 200 feet mark. And then you're correct. Yes, the lots do change as you get on the other side of Abernathy to the south. But again, it still looks like roughly there's 3 to 4 properties that may be impacted on a work day by the construction zone. So I hope that clarifies this. And again, this is just in general putting together a map that shows 200-foot sections. You know, the work area will obviously be dictated with how much production the water company's contractor will make.
Yeah, no, there is
some days could be more. Mm-hmm.
There was a request to show the lower part of Clover on that map.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So there, it's a little bit wonky in this area because I had to turn the corner, but from this dot to this dot is 200 feet. And then here to here is 200. And again, here to here is 200. So on the corners, we had a couple of intermediate dots. But in general, this is, you know, showing, like I said, the 200-foot spacing of a work zone. So if the water company is, say, in this section of roadway, if there are deliveries, the deliveries may have to continue on Deer Path and circle back on Clover to reach residents that may be in this area.
There's also a question about whether you really need to come inside people's homes to deactivate the indoor meters. I think there's concerns because of the pandemic about having workmen come inside people's homes. Is that something where that can be done some other way or done at a later time?
That could be done hopefully when the pandemic subsides, wishful thinking. Well, you know, it's not going to be done right away. I could say that, you know, sitting here talking to everybody. You know, we're taking every precaution we can with the pandemic, but we're not going to come inside anybody's home has anything going on health-wise. We have a whole protocol that we have to follow for the safety of our men also. What we call them are field service reps that actually do change the meter. Once we're done with the construction work with the water main and the services, the meter change outs, you know, can be sometime in the near future. I'm thinking when the pandemic subsides.
Len, you do not have a deadline for switching out the meters?
Not right now. You know, I'm on the construction end of things. That whole area is handled by another group within my organization, the meter department. Once I'm done, we handle the paperwork over to them, and then they schedule the meter change outs. And, you know, when that time comes, we can get you the protocol for that.
Thank you.
There are a bunch of people with their hands up. I don't.
You want me to? I can start admitting them if we want to
How
do this.
about, should we just finish up the last little bit of the presentation before we switch over to more questions and answers?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine too.
Okay.
With the work hours are going to be 7 to 4. Is that correct, Dennis, for your crews? Is Dennis on the line still?
Hello,
Or
can you
Joe?
hear me?
There
Yeah.
it is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Or Dennis or Joe,
Yeah,
can you comment on that?
Yes, those are correct, the work hours.
Okay. So 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. You know, when you see that we're coming up to your particular driveway, your lot, or whatever you want to do, you know, if you need to move your car before 7, we suggest that you do that. If you need to get in and out, we'll take every measure we can to get you in and out of your house. Lawn restoration we talked about. Traffic control, we're going to have the Princeton Township Police Department with police officers as long as they're available. Sometimes they're not, depending how busy they get with workload. We'll have to coordinate all the trash pickup and delivery. I'm sorry, trash collection, recyclables, everything else. We've done this before on numerous jobs in the Princeton area. We just have to get the particular days for recycling, which I don't know off the top of my head. Okay. Brush and leaf, those particular days are noted. Recycling, there it is right there. Okay.
You'll still have brush and leaf collection on those as scheduled. We'll just, the DPW will be coordinating with New Jersey Americans contractor to make sure that they can clear the area that they need to out of the work zone.
The only one thing on that, sometimes when we go to do the service laterals, if there's lots of brush and leaves in the way, we may have to move it temporarily. If the trucks didn't get there to pick it up.
Or just give Ian or Rich a call from my office, and they'll coordinate to get a couple of works out there.
Okay. So, deliveries, we'll try to get those in as best we can. If a resident has something going on that particular day, say a furniture delivery, something that has to get right into the driveway, we'll accommodate them. We're very easy to work with. Okay. Emergency services, they take top priority. Ambulance, fire trucks, anything like that. We stop what we're doing, we throw the roadway plates down, they get in. And of course, we'll have the police on hand. Pedestrians, the bicyclists, we ask those people to please stay out of the work zone, not only for the safety of the workmen, but for the safety of everybody around. There's machinery moving around, could be stone or debris on the roadway. We don't want anybody tripping and falling, anything of that nature going on. We'll have direct contacts to the inspector on the job on my end, my number also. Louis D'Amelio is the construction inspector. That's his cell phone, that's his email. Call him, email him. We'll do everything in his power to accommodate your needs. Okay.
And then Joe and Dennis could review your COVID-19 policy and precautions that your construction crews follow. That would be helpful. In Princeton, we're very sensitive to the need to wear masks, even outside, even socially distance. And we would hope that you would honor that and have your crews follow that as well.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have a COVID-19 health policy as well. We do temperature checks every morning for our employees. We go through a protocol of questions that we ask, make sure everyone is feeling well, nobody in their family is sick. We have a whole series of questions we go through that we do every day. We wear face coverings and all the necessary PPE for the project, and we're well versed with working. We have been working since the epidemic started throughout the state, and our employees are well versed in all the COVID-19 policies for safety, not only to us, but to the resident.
We appreciate that because you do have, all of the residents will be keeping an eye on this, and we appreciate when they let us know that if you aren't following it.
Also, Dan, Walters and Bugsby has to report to us every morning, same protocol for the COVID-19. We have a whole stipulation that they have to follow and submit every morning.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Len, do you want to talk about the equipment and material storage, and then just
you know, we're hashing out some areas of store equipment off-site. Like I mentioned earlier, there is going to be some material in the street area. We have to cone it off safely with barricades and caution tape. Some of the equipment, the excavation equipment, we have to tuck in somewhere also. If Dennis and Joe have any other suggestions of where they could maybe store equipment to get it off the roadway, we're certainly open to suggestions. Even if they, you know, if there's a yard close by, they could rent or get something where we can minimize the amount. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we did see that area that was suggested over on Perune, which is out of the way. If it's necessary, we can park the equipment over there. It's not that far away, and it's in an area that's pretty less obtrusive to the public. So we're open to anything to make the job go easier.
Great, thank you. Communications and contacts, I mentioned, you know, Louis will be on the job daily.
Great, and so Louis, this is your cell number and your email. So you had mentioned that people can reach out directly to you, questions. And then Len, we had also spoken about notification of the residents regarding kind of a look ahead for each week and indicating which house numbers you think you'll be working in front of during the week, and then giving an update at the end of the week as to what was accomplished. Is that correct?
Yeah, we could do a weekly update based on those 200-foot projections of what was done previously, then looking ahead to the following week and letting the residents know in house numbers such and such. You know, we'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on, projecting forward for the week ahead. You know, I'm sure the residents will see us coming up the road and say, gee, they're probably going to be here tomorrow, or they're going to be here the day after tomorrow.
I'm going to stop sharing right now and then get back over to Ian. Do you want to walk us through these chats?
Let's see. I guess we got a couple questions that came in. Looks like VB Snowden has her hand raised and she asked a question. Children are homeschooling, people are working at home. Do you have sound barriers for your work? Children are homeschooling, people are working, the same thing. Do you have decibel standards? So maybe Len and Waters and Bugby can answer about the noise concern.
Sound barriers, no. I don't know, Joe, Dennis, you know, any decibel ratings on your equipment? You know, I'm sure they.
Yeah, I mean, we have decibel ratings on equipment. We could get them if needed, but we've been working on various city streets throughout the state, and we have not had any issues in this regard. We've worked in areas that's fortunately for most of the homes there is a pretty decent setback. Most of our work will be in the street, so the distance from the street to the houses is more than most urban/suburban areas. So I don't feel it'll be an issue.
Can you just describe the general noise that is generated? I mean, you'll have backup beepers, I suppose. What other noise generators can the residents expect?
We have a trench milling machine, which is going to cut the trench. We have backhoes, track hoes, and dump trucks. So there'll be various engines running, but nothing really overly loud. I understand the concerns with the kids studying. So I don't think there'll be anything that would be that bad to the children trying to do their schoolwork.
No jackhammers, right? Will you have any jackhammers making noise?
You know, we can't guarantee that there'll never be a jackhammer running, but the milling machine that cuts the pavement should take care of the heavy pavement cutting. That's what causes the most noise.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
And that's grinding up the asphalt surface, and it goes on a conveyor belt into a dump truck. So there will be some sound associated if you're going into an empty dump truck as well with that.
Yeah, more of a steady sound rather than the, that really pounding of a jackhammer. So I totally agree with what was said about that.
Okay. So I think in general, can you guys confirm that maybe the backup beepers might be the
loudest thing?
Right. Okay. Okay, well, we don't want you to disable those, but wherever possible, try not to back up.
Deanna, did you go over the parking? So if there's a work right in front of someone's house, are they supposed to park somewhere else? I guess if they can't park in their driveway, or they need to have access to their car where they're supposed to park it?
Right, yeah, so Len mentioned that if they're working out front of people's home and they need the car during the day, if possible, we'd like for you to park your car outside that work area. On the street's fine. You don't have to go to a side street necessarily. You just have to be cognizant of where the work zone is at for that day. And Lewis, I think you'll go by people's homes and knock on doors just in case to let them know that the work's happening that day. So if they do need to get out, they have another opportunity.
Correct. I normally, it's not an issue going door to door. I won't go to somebody's door unless I have to. If I'm going to be, working in that area, or potentially we'll be blocking a driveway, or it's going to be an issue, I'll go to the door, notify the resident. When we do the service transfers, that'll be really the only time there's a water interruption, unless there's an emergency, and they'll be notified at least 24 hours before. Usually it'll be, maybe a week before or a few days before, but we want to make it at least the day before, because that way they anticipate, okay, be prepared. Your water is going to be off for an hour or two while we transfer the existing service line to the new water main. And we've tried to limit everything so there won't be any water interruptions. That should be the only water interruption during this whole project, when we individually transfer the homes to the new water main.
And Lewis also mentioned before we got in the meeting with everybody, we do understand the sensitivity about face-to-face interaction. And so we will be utilizing email at certain points. I think New Jersey American will use their reverse calling system to notify you of the work that may be taking place, and I think using door hangers. So don't feel like Lewis is going to be at your door every single day trying to talk to you in person. We do understand that we really want to utilize non-personal communication styles during this pandemic.
Correct. And if my number is available to all the residents, they can reach out anytime. If I don't answer, leave a voicemail, I'll call back. If you see something that doesn't seem right, definitely call. Doesn't matter what time it is, because sometimes things happen that we may not be aware of, or an emergency could happen during this job. I mean, I've done jobs where we're replacing the water main and there just happened to be a water main break unrelated, just because the pipe was, in such bad shape. And if you have any outages or discoloration, don't assume it's because we're working there. If we didn't notify you, reach out to me. If I didn't tell you, hey, your water is going to be off, and you notice that you have low pressure, absolutely. If you have my number, call me. If it's an emergency, if it's something that you just have a concern about, you can email me and I can get back to you. But if it's something that you're uneasy about or you're unsure about, I would say, call my cell phone, leave a voicemail, and try to get you the answers or figure out, what's going on as soon as I can.
Liz, can I just clarify for the residents, because I think this bears repeating, that each individual residents will lose water, sorry, not power, will lose water just for a relatively brief period on one occasion, unless there's some major mishap.
Correct.
Is that accurate? And you'll let them know ahead of time when they can expect that.
And that'll be, when we start the project, it'll probably be like at least 3 to 4 weeks out. The main goes in the ground once the samples are passed. At that point, then we know, okay, we can proceed with service transfers. And then we would notify probably all the residents to anticipate that. And then I would individually notify the houses, maybe 3 or 4 houses every day saying, hey, there's a good chance we're going to be doing your house to transfer it. And then even the day of, we'll knock on the door and say, hey, the water is going to be off for an hour. So nobody's, using the water or trying to get ready or anything like that. And then once it's back on, we usually like to flush the spigots outside if they're available, so we can get any air discoloration out through the hose spigot. That way it doesn't get trapped in your kitchen, faucet or something like that, and you have any other issues. And then, we like to confirm that everything is back to normal when we're done, so we don't have any clogged meters or any other issues that could potentially happen.
All right, we still have 2 hands raised. Do we want to let in VB Snowden first? All right, here we go. VB, can you unmute yourself? All right, she's been asking all her questions in the chat. I know some of her major concerns are sound related. So because the home is the new workplace, I don't think anybody said this, previously, but I'm sure NJ American Water and Waters and Bugby can limit the idling of their equipment, right? They'll turn it on when they need to use it and turn it off when they're not. I don't know if there's any other standards that we can convey to the residents. Dennis, Joe?
Ian, there's also one more question, 2 more questions in the chat that didn't get addressed. So, okay, just wanted to make sure you need that.
Thanks, Eve. Dennis or Joe, do you have anything else you can add about the sound concerns?
Yeah, we'll do everything possible to limit the noise, limit the idling, and I think as you recognize, as we go down the street, we will be passing houses. So very rarely are we going to be in front of one home for the entire day. So we will be moving up the street in a progression, and we'll do everything in our power to limit the noise.
That goes for the backup alarms as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we will just continue to monitor that as construction progresses, for sure. All right, and I'm going to let in Sherry Rosin as well. Sherry, can you unmute yourself? Okay, nothing there. And Catherine Hirsch also has her hand raised. I'm going to allow her in.
Oh, hi. Can
Catherine.
we hear now?
Yep, we can.
We can hear you.
Great, great.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll basically read what I chatted over here. My first question is, we are at the low in terms of elevation end of the Clover Lane loop. So water comes down towards our house and used to spill onto our front lawn until we put a gentle little berm out at the curb line. And after the last work 10 years ago, the town made sure we retained our berm at the end of the work so that we weren't back to square one. And I just wanted to make sure that could happen again this time around.
Yeah, we'll take every precaution to put everything back to its original condition. Matter of fact, the car contractor, Walters and Bugsby, will be videotaping the whole street to ensure that they put it back to as is condition. The way we see it is the way we're going to leave it.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
Catherine, can you give us your address? Ian and I will also make sure that we follow up on that.
Yes, we're at 32 Clover Lane.
Thank you.
We'll note that too, number 32.
And my husband has the second question from our household here.
Hi, all.
Hello.
Just in terms of roles and responsibilities, so regarding the COVID policy for the workers that you described earlier, the specifics, who is responsible for monitoring and enforcing that policy on a day-to-day basis by the workers?
Dennis or Joe, I mean, you're responsible for your personnel. New Jersey
Yes.
American is responsible for our personnel.
Yes, we're responsible. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a safety manager who will come out, and also we have a construction manager on the job, and they're responsible. And every day when they do the temperature checks and all the COVID questions that need to be asked and protocols, it is documented, recorded, and sent back to our main office, so we have a record of it. So it's done daily.
Right. So what I'm really asking about most is not the questions maybe that you do in the beginning of the day, but once the work starts, there's a level of supervision that may be needed. For example, let's say I'm looking outside and I see workers without a mask on. It sounded like what you said earlier. Your workers would be required to wear masks at all times, and if we see that's not happening, that's not a good thing. So I would suggest that there be enforcement and supervision. And I know Mayor Lempert has got a great challenge with this in town, et cetera. And this is one of the big challenges right now is it's all well and good about policy, but when it comes to action, there's been issues with enforcement. And so it's a very difficult thing to do, to enforce this. And so I as a homeowner don't feel like I want to have to go out and say, hey folks, my neighbor's daughter is about to walk to school this morning and you're walking around without your mask on. We don't want it to come to that. So I'm hoping that you can do as much as you can to prevent that and to, in real time, monitor and enforce your own rules.
We do, and we have constant supervision on the job. If you do have any problems at all on site, we have our foremen and managers all wear white hard hats. Field personnel, the laborers and operators are all wearing yellow. So if you had any questions at all, you could contact one of our managers on the job in the white hat. We will give you and if you need any contact information, we'd be more than happy to supply that to you. But we have been working throughout this coronavirus, and our protocols are closely followed and monitored every day.
We would, from the town's perspective, we would be looking at New Jersey American to also be monitoring that activity and following protocol. If residents are feeling that there are issues and you're not seeing it being addressed properly by either the contractor or by New Jersey American, please reach out to Ian, myself, or Rich Decker, our inspector, who will also be stopping out periodically. And so, yeah, please definitely reach out to us in the engineering department and we'll follow through.
And how would we reach out in real time to you guys?
I think in the notice that we sent out with the meeting, and we can send it out again. I think you have Ian and Rich's cell phone numbers. And Lewis's cell phone number was also on that notice.
Correct.
So that's the quickest and easiest way to reach out to us. We also have email that is always available, but the cell phone is probably the best way to handle that.
Dan, is
Absolutely.
a text an acceptable way of communicating this as well as a phone call?
Yep, text is fine as long as you let us know who you are.
Yeah.
Or at least that is, related to Clover Lane, something of that sort. You don't have to give us your name. Just say, related to Clover Lane.
Okay, thanks all. Those were excellent answers, and I'm sure we will be anxious to see the enforcement in action, and it'll be safer for everybody that way.
Agreed.
Okay, it does not look like we have anybody else with hands raised. Ian, any more on the questions that we haven't answered yet?
There's one about water pressure from Vanessa Silva. With the larger pipes / main, I'm thinking there's a greater volume of water pressure. How will that affect our house water pressure?
I could answer that, Ian. The water pressure for a given geographical area, particularly the street, stays the same. That's based on what's coming out of our plant in Bridgewater, what our booster pumps are set at up in Montgomery. So the pressure, you won't notice any kind of difference in individual home pressure. What you may notice is a little more volume flowing through our service line, but it all depends on what is on your side. What I mean by your side is your consumer's line going into the house. Sitting here, I don't know what you have. If it's 1 inch on my side and it's 3/4 inch on your side, we're still going to get the same amount of water through that 3/4 inch pipeline. I hope that answers your question. I know it's a little technical, but pressure always stays the same unless you increase the size of your consumer line going in. Then you would get more volume.
And thank you, Len. And I believe that's all of the questions. I think we're caught up. VB Snowden just said sound barriers should be installed and will provide another level of health protection for all, especially our vulnerable and elderly. At some point, barriers will become standard. Why not now? Me personally, I could attest to this. When I was working on 495 up in Jersey City, it was required to have sound barriers when you're working on a highway and you're working immediately next to a school. This is a residential neighborhood. I understand home is the new workplace. But we also just did Bank Street in Princeton, and the residents' front porch is 5 feet away from the edge of the road. And we were able to it was very tight. We were able to make do and work together and keep the noise levels down. I think we can all agree that we will note this in the minutes of this meeting, and we will enforce it and address it if it is a major concern. But I think we'll be okay.
I could add this if it makes anybody rest easier. April and May, at the height of the pandemic, we put a 12-inch water main right in front of Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in Somerville without issue. And you can rest assured there are a lot of eyes upon us, not only with the pandemic going on, the safety precautions, and also the noise. Minimal phone calls and no complaints.
Thank you, Len. That does help. We have another question that came in from George D. Fernandez, or D. Fernando, I'm sorry. How often does it happen that, I guess, our work leads to the discovery of problems on the homeowner's side of their, I guess, service lateral?
Only if the consumer has poor pipe or bad pipe on their side. Usually copper pipe is fairly well. It's mostly copper in Princeton I've been down there years and years. If you have galvanized pipe, which is very, very poor material, it tends to crumble. And those were mostly seen in the really older sections of town, houses that were built around the turn of the century. From my experience down there, I think everything is copper or plastic. It all depends when the house was built or if the line from the house was ever replaced over the years. When we do our side of the service, we always notify a customer if their side of the service is in bad shape and needs to be replaced. It's not something we do, but we can make them aware of it if they want to have a plumber come in and renew the consumer side while we're there. It makes it a lot easier. This way, the line is 100% brand new from the water main in the street right into the house.
It looks like Catherine has her hand up.
Yeah.
Hi,
Catherine.
it's me again. It's okay. Catherine's husband, Jim. Just one more question. I'm sorry if we missed this, but could you just mention again the proposed start and end dates of the project, please?
We failed to announce that. Thank you for mentioning that.
We were kind of ironing that out a little bit based on, Lou, can you just enlighten everybody on what you think was going to go on for pipe deliveries, things of that nature?
Yeah, so the soonest that we can get started would be Monday, the 19th of October. That would be day one. I would have to coordinate with Waters and Bugby to make sure, if they're going to be getting their equipment there before that date, or if that will be the day where they'll be getting equipment, because that in itself is a task for them to get the machinery there. Then we will get the material delivered, and that'll take, almost the whole day just to get things neatly put away and safely put away in areas that are safe. Then the actual work, when they start milling and excavating, that's when you'll see that 200 foot per day work happening. So if we started on Monday and that was the day they got their equipment there, that would pretty much be a day where you're just getting prepped. And then probably that Tuesday, you would see them excavating and they would start with the new water main installation. And as they're going down the straight road, should be fairly easy if the ground is, not shale or anything too hard. When it gets down towards the bends, it could take a little bit longer if there's utilities in the way or they have to install extra fittings to, get the pipe to go where we need it to go.
Hey, Louise?
Yeah.
Yeah, your descriptions sound interesting. I don't think we need this much detail. Okay. I'm really just asking for the start date. And I think you said Monday, October 19th. And if you started on Monday, October 19th, when would the project be complete?
So we have a 6 to 8 week time frame for this project. I think with the water main, if they get 200 foot a day, there's 3,500 foot of water main. Let me just do the math here to try to give you
I mean, is there an expectation on the part of, let's say, Princeton of when you would finish the project?
This is Rich Conklin from New Jersey American Water. But we need to have this main in service and useful by the end of the year, if possible. That's our goal. So, I mean, I think we'll do better than that, but keep in mind as well, road restoration, we have to let the roads settle out before we come in and mill and pave. So the expectation is to get the pipe work done, services done, if possible, by the end of December. I would have to get with Waters Bugsby, make sure that they're all right. The services may lag a little bit, but all intents and purposes, the end of the year. We'll be back in the spring once the fall is gone and the town says we're able to do so. We'll be back in the middle of pave the roadway.
That sounds great. And then the follow-up question would be, if there is a significant or even maybe an insignificant delay in what you just described, that end of the year goal, would you notify the neighborhood of the status?
I believe we talked about a weekly update as we're going along here. So as things go, it'll be real time, and I believe you guys will have updates.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. So the main replacement based on that footage, the 200 foot a day, is about 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Then flushing and testing is another week. And then the services are 2 to 4 weeks is the way the schedule plays out. And yes, that's correct. With the grass restoration and the pavement restoration, that would occur next spring, summer. Lewis was also providing a little bit of a description and an answer to one of the questions that came up in the chat.
Vanessa just raised her hand as well.
Yeah, about the unique challenges on the lower part of Clover because of the curves. And so that's what Lewis was mentioning, is that it will require some more fittings and may have a little bit less production. But Vanessa, please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm mostly concerned because it looks as if Clover, the lower part of Clover, will be towards the end of the process, if I'm understanding correctly, which is going to fall towards December, end of November, December. Then, if there's problems and this gets lengthy and we have snow and there's weather issues, and now we're talking about a street that's not paved. I mean, what are the steps involved here for mitigation of these issues? I'm just very concerned about this winter. I know last year we had an awesome winter. No, not for my daughter, it wasn't awesome because there was no snow, but for a project like this, it would be great. But I'm just not feeling as comfortable about us being the last part of this project at the latter part of the project in the middle of winter.
It's our goal, and I could have this discussion with Walters and Bugsby. I'd like to get out of there before the holidays, before Christmas. Nobody wants to see construction going on, between Thanksgiving, Christmas. I can't say before Thanksgiving, but definitely before Christmas. So that's one of our sidebars where the water company's gonna take up with Walters and Bugsby. Possibly we could maybe additional crews to work to try to get out there, to get out of there before the Christmas holidays. That's going to be one of my goals. On your question on weather, we work all year round. If it snows, we work with the various municipalities. We move the snow out of the way. We continue to work. Unless it's a blizzard of 2 or 3 feet, something of that nature. But we work all year round. Weather doesn't stop us. We're a utility company.
Right,
we're not leaving the road unpaved. I just want to be clear about that. At the end of the night, at the end of the shift, the road will be based. It's a permanent. It's
temporary.
It's a base pavement is the sub base, and they bring it right to the top. So there's an asphalt in there, and it's solid. It just doesn't look. It's not aesthetically appeasing. But it holds up. It's perfectly fine. Your road is paved. You're not having a dirt road out there. We give it some time, and then we come in and make it a final product at a later date.
Right, and so you're not going to even be cutting a trench necessarily before you're ready to open up the road and put the pipe in. Is that correct?
plan on milling every day as we go, grinding the pavement away for that particular day.
Yeah. So you'll get there in the morning, pavement is still on the road, you'll grind it up, you'll excavate, you'll put your pipe in, backfill it, and put asphalt back on top each day.
Yes.
I just asked again one of my chat questions, whereas someone had mentioned some of the unique earlier in the conversation about because we're on a curve that it might present some challenges. Could you talk to those challenges and what that might look like and why it might extend later?
Well, the only thing I could foresee coming around the curves is laying on the straight, it goes much faster. When you have to go around a curve, we have to be conscious of the existing utilities such as the sanitary sewer and the gas mains. We have protocol where we have to stay certain distances away from those other utilities. And it just may slow us down around the curves because pipe is straight and rigid. We have to use what we call fittings or elbows to get around those curves. So it takes a little bit more time to install the pipeline coming around the radius of the curve lines. Or something that may take us a day or two to get through on a straight line, may take us double the amount of time on a curved line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I hope that answered your question.
Anything else, Ian, that you're seeing?
Dare I say it? It kind of looks like we caught up. No more hands are raised. The chat is current. VB Snowden asks, what is the decibel level for street grinding?
I don't know that one offhand. That would be, one for our contractor and what their equipment's rated at.
Right.
And we can get back to you on that. We would be able to get that information, but I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yeah, they could, even when we start, I mean, you can easily download a decibel app on the phone. I can record it. It's going to change depending on the distance. If I'm right next to the machine, I would imagine it's going to be extremely loud and you would need ear protection. As you move away 100 feet, 200, 300 feet, it's going to go down. I can record it and I can give you a level right next to the machine, and I can do 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet away. And that way we can gauge the decibel reading at a distance. If, I think that is important for people to know the concern. We can just record it and, have it on record what these readings are.
Reese, if you could also maybe add in, I don't know what the average distance from the middle of the street to the average residence is, but that I think I'm putting words in her mouth a little bit, but that might be the biggest concern is when the machine is right outside my house for those 2 or 3 hours, what am I going to experience in my house? I think, so I don't know, that might be more like 40 feet rather than 100 or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's doable easily from
Great
Google Maps or even measuring. I can see, probably the closest houses, and that would be worst case scenario, and record from that distance. And of course I'll be outside, I won't be in the house, but I can still get a reading on it. And that'll give us, an indication of what to expect. And like they said, it's kind of a fast moving machine. It's not going to be for an hour in one spot. It might be 10 minutes. It might do like 10 feet every 10 minutes or something like that. So it'll move quickly. And then once they're done with that machine, which is probably the loudest piece of equipment, for the rest of the day, it'll be, at the beginning of each day, they'll be using this milling machine.
And I don't know if this is a true statement. It would be interesting, Louis, if you could compare it to, say, like a gas leaf blower, because I know that's one of the big issues in Princeton is the noise associated with the leaf blowers. So it'd be great to do a comparison between the two.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to get one, but if there was somebody in the area or a landscaper, I could definitely get a reading. I wouldn't mind doing that. It just would have to be something that's available for me to take that recording of.
Okay. Right.
I think that's it for now.
There was a question about, is there any thought about starting at the other end of Clover Lane rather than at the Overbrook end?
I'd like to start up by the Overbrook end. That gives us a cleaner source of water to feed the new water main, because the Overbrook end water main was replaced, I want to say a good 8-10 years ago, somewhere in that vicinity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, we could certainly entertain, if push comes to shove and we see we're losing time in other areas, maybe moving around a little bit. But we like to stay with that 200-foot increment and move down the road in an orderly fashion instead of hopscotching around them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mayor and Eve, I think we've covered all of the questions. Wrap up the meeting, and Ian, you're recording this, so we could make the recording available as well if people are interested.
Yeah, I believe Claudia has it recording on her computer.
Okay, so we can post that to the municipal web page for this project as well. Okay.
Correct.
Great.
Okay, in closing, it's construction. It's not fun. But if the end result is a new water infrastructure, hopefully for the next 75 years. Some of you may say, what benefit is it for me? There's benefit in it. You're going to have a clean source of water. You're going to have upgraded water service lines to your homes. You're going to have upgraded fire protection in the event there's ever a fire emergency. It's like everything else. Infrastructure gets old. It's like our bodies. We all get old. And unfortunately, things need to be replaced. I thank you all for your understanding and your cooperation. We'll try to make this as painless as possible.
Thank you. And I appreciate all of you providing your contact information so that residents can contact you. I think that's just really reassuring that people know, no matter, when a problem happens, that they can reach out immediately by selling and get someone, or by text. So really appreciate
thank you,
everyone doing that. And thank you for all the information. And thank you to all who attended. Liz, do you have anything you want to say, or?
No, I just, again, want to thank everybody. And in case you haven't seen it, on the princetonnj.gov website, there'll be a page for this project. So if you ever have any questions or just want to check the status, that's a good place to go. And that has contact information there too.
And we'll follow up with the emails that the neighborhood has shared with us. We'll respond back with Louis, Ian, and Rich's contact information as well, again, so you have that in case you can't find the other notices or the other places where we've shared that. All right, well, thank you very much. It sounds like my child is home and my dog wants out of the room, so I think that's a good time to end it.
And Ian.
Okay, thanks. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.